Family Dynamic Conversations, where families and stories come in all shapes and sizes. I come from a family of 12. You may be an only child. What matters is caring, sharing, and finding ways to relate to one another. Hello, and welcome to the Family Dynamic Conversations podcast. I am your host, Janice Kingsbury. Thank you for joining me today. I remind everyone that I am number 11 out of 12 children, all from Bert and Gloria of Minnesota. This creates a lot of dynamics, a lot of personalities to navigate through, but it was a lot of fun doing it. So now I want to just explore some of those stories. And I'm so lucky to have one of my siblings on today who can help clarify and verify anything I've said in the past, which after talking with Marcia, I have found out, there is some clarification needed. So thank you for joining me today, Marcia. How are you?
I'm fine and much older than you.
Very good. So what number are you in the family?
I am number 6 of 12 and number 2 of a set of twins.
And who came first? You said you're number 2, so you came
Mark,
second?
My twin brother Mark came first by only about 7 minutes.
Okay.
So apparently Mom was having us and they said, just lay back down, Gloria, you're not done yet. Because back then I don't think they were sure they were having twins.
Oh,
Dad
right.
told her, well, you look awfully big. And sure enough, I think we were both about 5 pounds or a little less.
Wow. That's
So we were
amazing.
midgets. Yeah, we were pretty tiny.
I bet Mom was just like, what? Wait,
Well, and
what?
it was the hottest, longest day of the year.
Oh, that's right.
Literally for her, the
Yeah.
hottest, longest day of the year.
Oh,
So
my
it
goodness.
was, I think Dad was out golfing. So
Anyway, so that's a whole nother dynamic and a very unique perspective of being a twin. So what was it like being a twin? Can you kind of tell
well,
me
when I
about
was really tiny, I probably didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
We already had 2 older brothers and 2 older sisters. So when I was tiny, it was just like, you don't know when you join the group.
Yeah,
You just start realizing things, and there's Mom's face and Dad's face, whatever.
Yeah.
And as you get older and you learn to walk and talk and stuff, because we do have pictures of us like in a high chair, I think celebrating our first birthday, because we're both pretty little.
Yeah.
And so 2 high chairs and the kids around, we were a unique thing.
Yeah.
So I think that was fun for all of them.
Nice.
And Mom and Dad are going, 2 more miles to feed. I'm sure this is it's going to be great. So anyway, my first interactions with them, I probably was 2 or 3 that I, realized anything.
Yeah.
Because I remember Mom getting us ready for bed, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Getting our PJs on, whatever. There were times, I was older when we took baths, but we had like 4 of us in a bathtub when me and Brian and Cheryl and Mark were all little.
Oh, yeah.
13 months after me came Cheryl.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Mom had 4 kids. So when she had us in June of 52, my oldest sister, Barb, your oldest sister, wasn't even 6 yet. She was going to turn 6 at the end of July.
Wow.
So just a month before she turned 6, she ends up with 6 kids.
Yeah. Did you find yourself vying for attention, or was that not even a thing that you were cared about?
I probably never had to compete for attention, Janice. I never had trouble. Well, no, I don't ever recall ever competing for attention.
Okay.
I played with whoever was ever there. And of course, you're talking about when Mark and I were born.
Yeah.
We were the babies. So we were the attention. I think, there's a picture of us outside the apartment that I think you want to talk about eventually.
Sure.
Sitting on the steps, and Barb's holding one of us, and I think Mike's holding the other. And I'm sure Mary, who was about 2, she was only like 2.5 when we were born. Is kind of looking over like, why can't I hold the baby? You know what I mean?
Right.
So they've got Barb, Mike, Steve, and Mary sitting on the steps, and Mike's holding one baby and Barb's holding the other. And I'm assuming Mike's got Mark. I don't know.
Right.
It's hard to tell in the picture which of us is which.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, as far as my interaction as a twin, getting older, it
Yeah.
was 2 birthday cakes. We shared some toys. We each got our own, like, I think when we were 5, we each got a little tricycle,
Okay.
things like that. So we didn't share absolutely everything, but there were some games or something you'd shared. It was just
Yeah.
you're gonna have everyone playing with it anyway. It
And
just
as you
happened to be ours.
and as you grow up or grew up, did you everybody talks about this special bond that you have with a twin. Did you find that very informative as you
Well,
grew up?
I don't know if I noticed a special bond except that I knew we were gonna have our birthdays together. You know what
Okay.
I mean?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
difference is in how we were treated as twins, and then somebody, a friend of mom or dad's, "Well, here's the twins," they always would say that,
Oh, yeah.
and that
Okay.
kinda thing, so you had that association, but when I was growing up and playing with everybody, it was just Mark is here and Mary, and you know what I mean? He
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
another brother to me, but
Okay.
I really didn't sit and dwell on it.
No. No.
Except we're reminded, "Oh, our birthday's together and it's tomorrow," that type of thing.
Okay.
Otherwise, he was another brother. So I don't
Nice.
know exactly what that means. As I got older and realized I was a twin, I suppose I thought, "Well, it is special, it's different,"
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
didn't, like, have any special vibes or anything because we were
Okay.
twins.
Yeah.
I don't know
Interesting.
what I was yeah. I don't
Oh,
know,
okay.
if I felt any different than any other brother or sister.
Nice. So now I'm going to talk about our wonderful two-bedroom apartment. There's 14 people now in an apartment. What are your like most fun memories of the apartment?
Well, to us, it was just home.
Okay.
So I didn't realize, well, I realized if we went up to mom's parents' house or dad's parents' house, they have, wow, look at this big house.
Yeah.
Because when we went home, we went into an apartment that well, it had 2 doors, one into a living room and one into the kitchen, but they were like right next to each other.
Oh, okay.
So you're down this hallway and there's 2 doors to our apartment, and there's a living room, a kitchen, and then right off the kitchen was a bedroom that we had called the boys' room,
Okay.
and then there was another tiny hallway with a closet that she could keep. I think she had an old, like, wringer washer in there, and we
Oh,
had
okay.
rags and stuff in there, mops and brooms and stuff like that,
Okay.
and right off of that, which was adjacent to the other bedroom, was a little bit bigger bedroom, and that
Okay.
was the girls' room,
Okay.
and then a little bathroom, off the other side of that
Okay.
closet thing.
And where were mom
So
and
that's
dad?
Mom and dad slept in the living room on a pull-out couch. A
Oh my
hide-a-bed,
god.
they called it.
Yeah. And did you
Or
always
they
live in the
or they went
apartment?
downtown to a hotel, I don't know. They were always there in the morning. That's all I can tell you.
Do do you remember any other home? Or you were
Not
born
no.
into the apartment?
I was born at the yeah, we were all Barbie was the only one that was born while mom and dad lived here in grandpa's house.
Okay.
After the war, they
Okay.
stayed here for like a year, but then they found that apartment.
Oh,
Which the
okay.
kind landlord, the owner of the store, Mr. Mohoald,
Yeah.
uh, he let them live there even though they had a baby because they really didn't want families.
Oh
But I
my
don't
gosh.
understand that because I think other neighbors we had kids, but maybe they were grown up and moved out. I don't know.
Interesting. I didn't know
Because
that.
mom and dad had real good friends. Well, the Warnkeys, you kind of know who they are.
Yes. Yes.
But the Hunts that you learned later, they,
Oh,
I guess,
yeah.
used to live there. I didn't know that for a long time.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And there was a couple of sisters who lived there that were, in their 20s and working. They
Okay.
shared the apartment across the hall. So, yeah, I that was home to me. We just
Okay.
time to go to bed, and there was 2 bunk beds and a youth bed and a double bed, and it was really a bedroom because that's
So
about
when
all there was room for.
so when Mr. Mahold's like, "All right, you're gonna have a baby or you have Barbie, and that's
Yeah.
fine." And then there's Mike, and then Steve, and then Mary, and then the twins. I mean, then they're all 12 of us because Anne was born
Yeah.
before we went to the
I don't
wow.
know what he said or did, but Mom said he was just a really nice guy, and he just really didn't object as we had this bigger and bigger family. Because Mom and Dad were 2 really good, honest, hardworking people.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
raised us to be quiet. I don't know
Okay.
if the store could even hear us because they're in this big concrete store downstairs. I don't know if they could even hear us
Oh,
walking
okay.
around or whatever.
Yeah.
But they made us be quiet. We go up and down the stairs and play, but
Yeah.
Mr. Mohoald almost was like another grandpa to us. He was always smiling and hi kids, and we'd come in the store to look around, but we were well behaved.
I do remember
So
that smile now that you say that.
yeah,
That's so
he
funny.
was a
Other
he always
things.
had a cigar, but he had a nice smile on his face. He was always very pleasant.
Yeah.
So I don't
Did we have a TV in the apartment?
yeah.
Oh, okay. Don't remember that at all. And
Well,
now
you
that
were
we're
so
t
little though. You were
Yeah.
like 2, 3, 4 when we moved, so
Yeah.
yeah, we had a TV in the corner of the living room.
Yeah. So I
They shifted it
remember
once in a while.
I remember looking out the windows and we were
Yes.
just it's just a second floor, right? Second story that we were up,
Yes,
right?
yes. We're above the
And
store. Yeah.
snow was coming down and it's so quiet and silent and you could see the snow piling up and nobody's driving around, nobody's walking. And then there were other times where it was just sideways. I just thought, "Ah," I could hear it howling.
Well,
Do you
or the cars were buzzing by, but in the winter it is quieter because of all the snow.
Yeah, yeah,
And they're usually traveling slower
right.
because of the roads.
And then you guys so when we moved, I was 4 or 5. Did you walk to school then as a group or
Well,
you older
sometimes we
kids?
walked to school. We lived down on Front Street. Then
Okay.
there was like 2nd, Broad, 4th, 5th, and 6th. Well, our school was up here on 6th Street, right off of Main.
Right.
So we sometimes walked to school.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
As we got older, mom and dad probably thought, well, why can't you? If it was a real cold winter day, we'd pack into a station wagon or something, and dad would haul us there before he went to work. But
Yeah.
when we moved here, you and Ann weren't in school, and maybe not even Jeannie. She might have just been starting
Oh, okay.
when
Yeah.
we moved here because that was in '64. So whatever you were
4 then.
4, yeah, you had turned 4 because it was August.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
Jeannie would be 2 years older the number 2 years older. She might have been a year and a half older. She was
Right.
in, what, 58?
Yeah.
So she was
Yeah.
probably 6 when we moved. I had
Okay.
just turned 12, and Anne was not quite 2 because
Nice.
she turned 2 in September. We had
Okay.
quite a batch of little kids, so I don't expect you little guys to have much memory of downtown at all.
Yeah, there's just very fleeting memories, but like I was talking to Jeannie the other day and saying, I remember putting my mittens on the radiator
Yeah.
in the
I'm
hallway.
sure our neighbors love that.
It's the only way to
12
thaw
sets
it
of
out.
mittens and gloves. Yeah, well, or to dry them a
Boots.
little bit if we were
Yeah.
outside playing. Yeah, the boots were on the other side of the hall under some rack that I don't know if dad got that at work someplace,
Oh, yeah.
a
That's
rack that you could put boots and mittens and stuff on, but a lot of times we were trying to warm up and dry our mittens on top of that radiator.
Do you remember well, I'm sure you do. Tell me about your experience walking over to Millie's grocery store. What pops into your mind when I ask you about Millie's?
Well, she was a real nice lady too. I think everyone who got to know mom and dad were just very kind and thought, they're good, hardworking people with all these mouths to feed. Everybody was really nice to us. I don't know, because I was still a kid,
Yeah.
if Millie gave mom breaks on groceries or not. But, back
Okay.
then it wasn't as bad price
Right.
wise, but that's all relative
Right. When you have
because
that
it
many
still was a
mouths.
lot. It was still a lot for mom and dad at the time. And they
Yeah.
both worked, but everybody we knew around there was nice to us. We didn't have any like hateful neighbors. The Gettles were across the street. They had a
Yeah.
feed store and a combination like gas station right on the corner.
Okay.
It was a real neighborhood. The store right across the street. I don't even think we had lights back then. I think we just had stop signs.
Oh, okay.
So we walked across the street to a candy store, but they had a few things like groceries in it. But
Okay.
you could get candy and cigarettes and stuff like that there. I don't remember what all, because we usually went to Millie's for the groceries. And there were
Remember Millie's and the
yeah,
and
she
the
was a little lady with dark hair and a net, and I think she was Lebanese.
Ah, okay. Okay.
Because I
Yeah.
think her last name was Abdo. She was related to some of the
Oh,
Abdos you guys knew
right.
in school.
Yeah.
So
I
that was
worked for the
Millie.
Abdos.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And Mr. Mahowald had the sister who would stop into Millie's and sit and chit chat with him. They were all just kind of friends because
Nah.
it was kind of a neighborhood.
Yeah.
She was very nice, and that's where we got all our, cereal, bread, and eggs and whatever.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
but it was just a little grocery store. Nowadays, people would chuckle because it would
Yeah.
fit in the corner of our new big whatever superstores with the
Yeah.
groceries in them.
Well, I
But it
just
was
remember
just
the penny candy display
yeah.
that she had, and oh
Well,
my
she
God,
had some candy displays, and so did that. Birchie's was the name of the other little
bird
candy store.
cheese.
So they would
Yeah.
have these little glass cases, and then you'd point what you want, and they'd take them out for you and stick them in a little bag. But back then, it was penny candy.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
remember.
stuff you're eating today, I have a little bag of Smarties. They're
Yeah.
like real little discs.
Yes.
Well, Annie's kids were eating them while we set this up,
Oh, that's
and
funny.
who knows what they cost a piece because they come in a bag for $5, $6, $7,
Yeah. All right.
instead of a penny a piece.
Speaking of candy, I remember Dad having several jobs, and one was at a candy store, but I don't
Yeah.
remember what position he had or what's that story about Dad at a candy store.
Well, he used to work at the big, well-known Sherry Candies here in Mankato,
Oh, okay.
but he and some of his buddies were accountants there. He didn't I don't think, work in the store like I did later.
Oh,
The
okay.
actual bagging of the manufactured candy that came in, bagging it up and labeling it for many different stores. It was more of a distribution center when I worked
Oh,
there,
okay.
and
Yeah,
maybe it
right.
always was.
Okay.
So they got in bulk candy and packaged it and then sent it out under different labels and hung it in different grocery stores.
Oh, okay.
And he worked there with a couple other guys, and they all started their own candy store, which was
Right.
down at the south end of town, down by Madson's and down that direction.
Okay.
But it was
Right.
sort of on a back road, so I think there was like Mayflower Moving and some of those kind of companies back there now.
Okay.
So that's where they located their candy store. And I think
Ah,
they called it
interesting.
Colonial Candy Store.
Okay. Do we
But
have anything back from that? Do we have any uh
well,
paper
we used
bags or
to.
oh,
We
okay.
used to have the big air conditioner that he finally got to bring home. That
Oh,
was nice for the apartment and this house. When, they didn't have a lot of air conditioning back then. Nowadays, people
no.
have little units in every window like I do now,
Yeah.
if I feel
Yeah.
like putting them in, or they have central air. So this
Right.
was you didn't have that. We had a fan in the window
Yeah.
that it fit pretty good, and you close the window down and you just let that move. But if it was hot outside, we
Yeah.
probably had it blowing out. I don't
Bro.
know.
Yeah.
When it got really warm, I guess
Yeah.
even having the air move felt better than not.
Well, I
Like if
said
it,
that in another podcast, how I would sit on the landing in your house there and would just hot air or cool air, it didn't matter. It was air movement.
yeah,
Middle of the night, I would sit on those
yeah.
stairs, just please blow some air on across me.
Well, and that's where I think that was the first place they put the air conditioner. It was either in the dining room
Yeah.
or up there in that because they thought it could distribute air pretty
Up
much for
and
the whole
down.
house. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
trouble with it, as it cooled, it did sink, but I'm sure it felt better upstairs with something blowing
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
nothing as
Right.
far as cooling it off a little bit. Yeah, this house has gravity, whatever they call it, heat. The furnace was a coal burning furnace.
That's right. To
So
begin with.
the
Yeah.
apartment, that was radiator, so of course that was steam, hot water, whatever. We
Okay.
have to turn all those on or off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you were talking about looking out the window in the winter time. I think you were going to mention that Santa Claus that was hanging
Oh,
outside.
yes. Yes.
Big display that everybody loved because it was a big Santa on the outside of this hardware store, which also had toys, bicycles, baseball gloves,
That's
all that.
right.
So it
Yeah.
was a big place for Christmas time. and they would display all sorts of bicycles on top of this awning.
Oh,
And Santa
yeah.
was hanging right outside of our bedroom window, the girls' bedroom.
Yeah,
So
okay,
Cheryl and I
that's
go
where it
out there
was.
too. You could see this red nose glowing because they always had that
Yes.
lit.
Yep.
And Cheryl and I would sit in that window and sing Christmas songs or something,
Oh,
when we were.
fun.
Remember
Yeah.
Mom peeking in the door once. We didn't know she was there,
Oh, really?
listening to us sing songs.
I love
So,
it.
you had some privacy because everybody else might have been in the living room watching TV, whatever, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Suddenly I remember a vinyl top or acrylic top dining room table or kitchen table and
the
plastic chairs coming into my
those
brain.
well, the mom won some contest,
Oh,
and the prize was a freezer. That had kind of a fancy colored top on it, and
okay.
she could use it as a table because I do think it had even a flap that you could fold up and use as a table. Because
Oh,
she used to use that to, like, fold laundry and stuff on, but underneath it was a freezer, so we had our ice cream and stuff in there. Popsicles, whatever, so it was actually a freezer, and it had a pedal on it that popped the door open, but when that was shut, the top had a nice tabletop on it. So it was
interesting.
nice for a kitchen or something because
Yeah.
it served 2 purposes, and I think she had some matching chairs with the gray. I think
Y-
the funny chairs we have now in our dining room might have come from that set,
Yeah.
because the wooden maple table I have now was
Mm.
mom and dad's, their table.
Oh,
Wedding
okay.
gift, whatever, that was their dining table,
Okay.
and that had a couple leaves in it so we could stretch that out, and
Okay.
eventually had to.
Yeah.
And then we put chairs all around that. So that one set of, plastic kind of back chairs, that just became part of the 12 or whatever we had around that table.
Eclectic.
But we did have a tiny table too. It was kind of more like a craft table, that little kids table, we called it.
Oh,
So you little guys sat there before we moved. Probably you and Jeannie and Donna and Ann
yeah.
probably sat at that table to eat.
Oh gosh.
And the
Yeah.
the rest of us were around this other thing.
Some synopses are clicking
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
Like
Well, it'd
Rose
be hard
memories.
for you to remember a lot of that because
Yeah.
I see pictures of me open presents when I was little, like
Yeah.
5, 6 years old, and I go, "Well, I remember the toy," but I wouldn't go, "Oh, yeah, I was 5 or 6 then."
Uh, right.
I kinda
Right.
had to remember how old I was when I got something or just know the year because some of the photos had the year on them.
Right. Right.
This is
Yeah.
back in the
Thank goodness.
Kodak days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So you could at least guess, "Oh, I was 5, I was 7," whatever it was, so
That's right. And
so
you were also telling me then the reason behind moving into Grandpa's house. I just thought it was for more space, but tell me the story of why we moved.
well, we ended up I don't know why we didn't move in before because it was pretty silly with just grandpa and grandma living here when our 2 aunts and dad had moved out
Okay.
because they had 4 bedrooms upstairs and a bathroom in the basement, and it's like they're living in a palace, just this
Right.
old couple,
Yeah.
and 14 of us are living in this apartment above a store. So
Yeah.
I don't know, but grandma died. She had had some heart trouble or anemia or whatever,
Mm.
and she ended up dying in the hospital. They thought she was coming home. So it was kind of a sudden thing. And as I said to you, I recall it because it was a half a year after Kennedy had been killed and
Oh, yeah.
almost 6 months to the day. It was also a Friday. It was also the 22nd, and his was November and grandma's was May, so I had that stuff kind of etched in my brain because
Yeah.
I was homesick when Kennedy was shot, and I remember telling mom, "There's a
Oh,
bulletin on the TV about Kennedy," and I was just 10,
yeah.
but I didn't know what was going on, and then she came in to listen, and it was somebody had shot him. So
Oh
I
my
was 4th,
goodness.
5th grade, and somebody shot Kennedy. And I
Yeah.
was just a kid going, "What is going on?" But
Right.
6 months later, grandma died of whatever complications she had,
Yeah.
and, she was, like, 83, and grandpa did not wanna live alone or they didn't want him to live alone, and he didn't wanna move,
Oh,
sell
okay.
the house. So,
Yeah.
none of us knew what was going on, but mom and dad must have talked to grandpa and our 2 aunts and said, "We don't want him alone. He doesn't mind if you move in because he does not wanna leave."
Okay.
So
Okay.
part of the year they wanted to help by taking him up to Bayport, which is one of our aunts lived there, or at least in the summer.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
if Margaret and Buck ever took him to Chicago. They lived in that area.
Okay.
But he took turns going up to Ginny and Bob's once in a while.
Okay.
And I think he was okay, but he really still wanted to come home.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
was his home.
Yeah.
So he put up with all of us kids, but we did all the work. So even Mr. Mahol, the store owner, didn't mind because we shoveled and swept. We swept up dirt that blew around, and
Oh,
so we
yeah.
kept the sidewalks clean. We shoveled. Dad and
Yeah.
Mom made us shovel our steps and the sidewalk, and
Yeah.
so we were good tenants.
The reason why we moved in was to take care of Grandpa, not
Yeah.
because we just had too many kids and Dad and Mom were like, oh,
Well, I'm
desperate.
sure they all thought that's the logical thing to do if
Yeah.
Grandma's gone and Grandpa doesn't want to leave.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to be alone, or nobody thought he should be alone because he was like 84 or 5 by
Right.
then.
And what were your perceptions of Grandpa? What was
He
his
was a goofy
personality?
guy. He was
Yeah.
a lot like our dad.
Okay.
And maybe a little like me.
In what way?
Well, kind of sarcastic, dry humor. He
Okay.
could tease you by pretending that he was going to be mean or scold you or something, and he's trying to get a rise out of you.
Oh.
And then other times he's just telling some stupid joke or showing us a little magic trick with his matches and lighting his pipe and just goofy things. So he
I
had a
don't
good
remember
sense
that.
of humor, but it was subtle, and you were very little.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
weren't that old when he died, because he died like 6 years later.
Was it? I couldn't remember the year that
I think
he
it was
passed away.
70.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So 10.
So we moved in 64 and he died in 70. So we were only there 5.5, 6 years.
I remember him sending us to the library to get books.
Yeah, he loved to read Westerns.
Yeah. But I don't remember him talking to me much,
He didn't talk a lot. I'd come home from school and he'd be sitting on the porch on the swing, just having a pipe and just watching
Yeah.
the cars and just sitting there daydreaming. Who knows what he was thinking? He wasn't real conversational unless he felt like teasing you.
Right.
He'd say hi and stuff, but maybe he was just really lonesome and thought, I'm glad my son is here with his kids, but I miss my wife. I mean, who
Right.
knows?
You're right. No,
And
for sure.
especially when everybody's off to school and Mom was working and Dad was working. I don't know if Mom still kind of worked in the afternoon, so she was around during the day,
Yeah. Yeah.
because Dad worked normal days.
Okay.
He was up shaving, getting ready for work at 7:30, 8 o'clock, like the rest of us, getting ready to go to school.
That
But
reminds me of when you said that. I remember because it was only the one bathroom upstairs. And in the mornings before school, putting his leg up on the tub and shaving in the mirror. And I'd come in and knock on the door and he goes, who is it? And I'd say, Janice, and he'd say, okay, come in. So I could just, use the toilet. He didn't care. He's
Yeah.
going to keep shaving.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
hilarious.
Well, we were little kids. We were
Yeah.
pretty little kids, because
Yeah.
I remember that at the apartment too. I'm sure
Oh,
by
yeah.
the time you're 10, 11, 12, you had your
Right.
privacy. But when you were
Right.
just these little kids, I mean, like I said, I know there were times when there were 2 or 3 or 4 of us in the bathtub.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right too. Yeah.
Use the one, wash and get out. Next shift. I mean, people might think that's really weird, but we were little. We took baths and
Yeah.
got out in and out of there, not one kid at a time.
Right. Right.
Especially when you were old enough to sit there and wash your arms and stuff. Mom would make sure you cleaned your toes and whatever,
Yeah.
help you shampoo your hair. But
Right.
like I said, when I moved up here, I was 12. So that's one of my memories, though. When we were tiny, 2 or 3 of us might climb in the tub together and get washed and get out of there.
Right.
So
Oh, gosh.
usually Saturday night. For some reason, it was Saturday night.
Now, Saturdays were the cleaning day, though, right?
Oh, thorough job. Thorough
Thorough-
job day. That's
Thorough
what they
job,
call it.
top to bottom.
Every
mo-
room.
Yeah. Mom told me at one point that the reason why she did that was mainly because Ethel would tell her things
Yeah.
that needed to be cleaned, and then Ethel would check it, and Mom would say, "Yeah, sometimes I had to do it over," because it wasn't up to standard. And I just thought,
Wow. By then she was a
wow,
married woman with a child.
yeah, many, yeah.
Well, grandma was Irish and Scotch. Maybe she was she was the only girl in her family.
Oh,
Grandma
right.
Ethel had like 5 or 6 or 7 brothers.
Oh, yes, yes. Okay,
And they
yeah,
lived in South Dakota. And so
okay,
she was the only girl, and I bet she was like, Anne Marie, well,
yeah,
you should be cleaning. Well,
right,
why? Well, because you're a girl.
yeah,
Marcia didn't go along with that. Marcia was the rebel.
yeah.
Notice my outlaw picture.
Do you want to
Um,
bring that closer so we can see it? There we go. Hold it still. And there she is, Marcia wanted. Okay,
so
cool. Thank you.
some people only want me for my brains. Anyway, uh, I was going to say that's one of my ancestors. Do we look alike?
Yeah.
And I do look like Grandma Brosnan, I guess. So
That's true.
I was chuckling a little bit as I looked at myself. I went, "You do look like Grandma." She's
I agree.
Scotch and Irish, and I bet she had to clean, clean, clean because Mom said when they lived here, they were even washing the woodwork and stuff. And this is a
Oh,
beautiful
that's
home
right.
with oak beams in the ceiling and all that, as you can see behind me.
I do
Um,
remember washing those stairs that were oak.
yeah.
That's
Well,
right.
you swept them off, but you
Yeah.
always washed it. And I think she might have even used a wood conditioner afterwards.
Yep. Yep.
Grandma, I'm sure, had her washing. Well, you know what? Grandpa and Dad smoked. And
Yes.
so did, I think Ginny and Margaret did too. I don't know when they
Oh,
all stopped smoking. Dad
yeah.
did when it was, not good for his heart.
Right.
But Mom was never a smoker, but she was always helping Grandma clean the house. And I'm sure that was part of it.
Yes.
Because even when we moved in, there were times that they had us washing the walls too. And I go, why are we washing the walls? But it was part of what you did because they had you do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now I think we were washing walls. That's insane. But I think it was because of the smoke and they
Makes
do have a
sense.
fireplace. So
Oh, that's
that
true.
grandma always wanted things cleaned up because I'm sure that left soot.
Yeah.
She worried
Yeah.
about her home.
Right.
So she was a stickler for cleaning it up, etc.,
That's
which I am not.
great.
So for the viewers out there, I'm living in Grandpa's house
Yes.
and I do not wash the walls.
Stop that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to ask, speaking of our listeners, please let us know down in the comments if you moved from a smaller place, if you were in a small family or a large family, and you grew up in a small place, but then expanded out after the family grew, or the family stayed the same size and you just moved into a different house. But it'd be
Mhm.
interesting to see if there was a lot of people that, oh, yeah, I remember this small cramped space, and then suddenly we had 4 bedrooms. Which
Yeah.
reminds me of all 8 of us were in one. Were we all 8 girls
Well,
in one? Or
in
4 and
the
4?
apartment this was
Oh,
a mansion, Janice, so we got 2 bedrooms for the girls and still only 1 for the boys. Then Mom and Dad had a bedroom, but not
okay.
while Grandpa was here.
That's right.
He had
That's right.
his own bedroom, and the
Yeah.
girls had 2 bedrooms, and the boys had the bedroom to the south, which I think in the old days, Grandpa and Grandma rented out to college students because
Oh,
we're just a block and a half away from Mankato State College.
okay. Yeah.
Back in the day, and I think our neighbors next door, the Morrows,
Yes.
they were, I think, only a family of 4. Their dad worked for the railroad, but Bernice and Ruth were both single women. I think Ruth had some health issues, so she stayed at home and did things, but Bernice was like a kindergarten teacher
Okay.
in
Yeah.
the Judson area, which isn't far away. But
Okay.
their parents knew Grandpa and Grandma real well, but that was back in the day when they
Yeah.
were neighbors.
Yeah.
And I think their house is older than ours, but I don't know by how many years. It
That's right.
might be 10 or 12 years older. So until
Wow.
Grandpa had this one built in 1922, they didn't have a neighbor.
Right.
So
Right.
Mankato was expanding up the hill from the river,
Yeah.
and the house Ann and Dan got was some cabin that was awarded to a cavalry soldier, a Union soldier for his service.
Right. Right.
That
Oh
was a
gosh.
little cabin with a cellar underneath.
That's crazy. I remember seeing those. It lifted. out of the ground.
Yes, yes.
That blew my mind. I couldn't
But we were inside knocking
believe it.
off the old walls so they could refinish in there, but that
Wow.
probably was after they lifted it and then
Yeah,
set it back down on a foundation, but it
right.
was a little cabin that just got it added to and added to, so that was I
Wild.
mean, we're talking Civil War. And I
Yeah,
said, "Oh, what is 1876?" And it's like, "Yeah, it was real close to that."
that's
It might have
crazy.
been 1877 or 8, but it was right around the Civil War time because a soldier had that given to him
Mhm.
for his service.
That is
So
very
anyway,
cool.
our rooms here were this was like a mansion. We
Yes,
had a basement and that had a bathroom in it, and
sure.
now one on the main floor
Yeah, that's
that we
right.
added, and then the one upstairs. So now I have 3 bathrooms.
Okay.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so it's a mansion, and so when we had only 4 girls in a room, we thought, "Woo, how much
Yes.
room is this?"
Yeah,
When you grew up like that, you didn't know the difference.
true, true.
Cheryl and I talk about going over to a friend, hers in grade school. She said, well, she'd let me stay for supper and I could have like 2 or 4 cookies, not 1.
Yeah,
You thought it was a feast because don't you just have 1 cookie? No, you can have another cookie. They look at you like, what's wrong with you?
yeah, you
Well, if
sure
we
know.
had 2 cookies, the package was gone.
That's why I hated when we got the pinwheel cookies.
Yeah, pinwheels.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Were there
Yeah,
only
cut them in
12?
half. Wait, wait, wait. Well, poor mom always sacrificed desserts. Even on Sundays when we got a
Oh,
dozen powdered donuts, mom, you can have half of mine,
yeah.
because she didn't take anything. She made sure dad and the rest of us had our treats.
Oh my God,
That was
bless
so
her.
weird.
Speaking of mom, as far as I can remember, she was only a nurse and she only had the 3 to 11 schedule. Do you remember her having any other schedule?
I think she said she might have had normal schedules when we were little and the other kids were in school.
Okay.
I remember the 3 to 11 mostly because then as we got older, we were home and she didn't need a babysitter.
Right.
There were
Right.
times when I remember at the apartment, there would be either a neighbor or some lady she got to babysit us
Okay.
if dad was at work until 5. Because
Yeah.
even then, if she waited till 3 to leave,
Yeah.
she needed somebody for a couple hours to watch the youngest of you.
That's right. That's
And
right.
then when the school age kids came running home, I mean, by the time I was 10, I was watching you guys. I mean, you were the babies. I didn't
Yeah.
feel like a little baby.
Right. Right.
And when I see our nieces and nephews hit that age now, they go, "Well, yeah, I can do this, and yeah, I can do that." I was like, "Oh."
I babysat Mary's
Yeah,
Jessica when I was
yeah,
10. So
yeah.
I remember. Well,
Well,
yeah,
Mary took care of most of us. She was the second mom.
that's true. I have to show everybody my mug. So I got Hanks. Yeah, Hanks for our troops. So it's Tom Hanks cup and coffee. And
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah, he created that to all support the troops. So
Mhm.
since we have a long lineage of military people, I thought, well, that's a good way to support them. All
Yeah,
right.
I was tossing and turning this morning thinking, "Oh, you should put pictures of mom and dad and everybody around you." And it's like, too much work.
Yeah.
It's over there.
Yeah.
It's up on the mantle.
Yeah. Well, I have this one of their wedding picture. I'll see if I can get it out of the light. No, it's too much
Yep.
reflection.
Jeannie and Rob have that one at their house. I don't know if I have that one.
Okay.
I just have them each in their uniform.
Yeah, that's very
There
cool.
must be a wedding picture of them someplace. Maybe in some of the collages we made, like for dad.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes pictures like that show up there. Mine are mostly of just the 2 of them together, but not the wedding picture.
I did mention in a podcast the 8 millimeter films.
Mhm.
And the one that I know we watched over and over again was of Anne and I fighting in the living room. So were you there to watch that?
No, I wasn't there. The first time I had any knowledge of it was when Big Brother Steve, who pretty much ran that Super 8 camera all the time.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if he just liked doing it and mom and dad said fine,
Yeah.
because I think they first got it and used it for a trip out west or something. I can't
Oh,
remember why they first got it. I don't know if they went to Duluth or where they went, but they went on some family trip. But,
yeah.
they could only take 3 or 4 kids at a time
Right. Right.
if they were going to afford it. But as kids got older here, like I said one year, I'll stay home, I don't care, and I could play with Brian and whatever, and she took Barb, Mary, Mike, and Steve someplace, but I think it was Duluth.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
Mark probably wanted to go, but we played together, so I think he was okay.
Yeah.
As I said, I don't know what Mark thought.
No. Yeah.
I wasn't vying for attention. When we were little, there's pictures of us boxing each other in our crib because some dad put on boxing gloves that he got for Mike and Steve.
So this came from
So
Dad trying to
well,
put the gloves on to see what the kids could
well,
do.
I'm sure because, Irish, they love boxing. What's that movie with Tom Cruise? He had to fight for a living,
Far
you
and
know,
Away or something from Ireland
something like
when he was in
that with
Ireland.
Nicole Kidman or
Yeah.
whatever.
Far and Away. Yeah.
But so all we're known for is fighting and drinking, I guess. I don't. They were talking about that on PBS yesterday about Summit Avenue in St. Paul and a rich man that had something to do with developing the area and going out west. They were fighting with the railroads and the steel and all
Oh,
that
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
The Irish came over, and I guess the Presbyterian Irish were supposed to be people with money and hoity-toity, and the Catholic Irish were the poor working scrubs. And I thought, I didn't know that. Didn't realize that. I just tell people my last name and they go, "Oh, you're Irish." And I go, "Well, I guess so."
Part
When I was
Irish.
when I
Yes.
yeah, I
If
said,
you
"Yeah,
talk to
I'm
Mom.
German." Yeah, German and Polish and English and Irish and Scotch. And of course, Dad was just Scotch and Irish. You don't know all that history when you're a little kid. And then you
No.
go, everybody thinks I just drink and fight. Oh, you come here and prove it. I'll show you.
So Steve, having that loving the Irish in him, put
Yeah.
little Annie Bo and I in
I thought that was funny. And I didn't know it, like I said, until we saw the movie. And Brian, I guess, was home because he started pulling one of you around by the leg, Ann maybe.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he jumps into the video and he's pulling somebody by the ankle and dragging them around the room. And I thought, what's everybody picking on Ann for? But you two were just going like this without the boxing gloves. You probably would have been better off with the gloves.
Yeah. Well, I remember thinking how funny it was watching it. And then I also remember thinking, this hurts.
Exactly.
Why are we doing this?
They're actually watching you too. And I don't even know what you were upset about. If you were fighting over a doll, I have no idea what you guys were upset about, but you were only a couple years apart.
Yeah.
And you were both very little.
Well, I don't remember
she
being
wasn't
upset about anything. I think I remember being coerced into pull her hair or see if you can hit her.
See, now I'm learning something I didn't know. If he got you guys going, well, push her, well, pinch her.
Yeah.
If he did that, I'd like to smack him, but he's not here anymore.
That's right.
Because you guys were red. You were really getting upset because you started really swatting at each other and pushing like onto a couch or something. And
I'll have to watch it again.
What did he do that for? Yeah, I'm kind of afraid to watch it. I'll feel bad because I couldn't be their referee. And then, of course, Brian joined in being a boy. He thought it was funny, I'm sure.
I'm sure. Yeah.
I just thought, wow.
I'll have to see if I can get his perspective on the whole thing. He'll probably just laugh hysterically, thinking it was the funniest thing he's ever seen.
I'm sure we'd all chuckle, except that I thought, but it's not really funny. If you were hurt and upset and all that, then it wasn't worth the laugh. Because there's somebody took a video of me teasing Ann outside, and she got all upset. And I thought, Annie Bo, I always tease you and play with you. And she got upset. I think I sprayed water at her or something. I just flicked it at her. Don't, or something. Wow.
Right.
She must have been in a bad mood because she wasn't that old. She might have been 7 or 8. I don't know what she was.
Yeah.
But I teased. I didn't hurt her. I wouldn't hurt somebody.
Right. Right. Yeah.
She just wasn't in the mood. That's the trouble with we Irish. With us Irish.
With we. Little
we
small Irish people.
We Irish. Yeah, I was going to tell you about all the O's and stuff. I have potato chips, and I can't remember. All sorts of weird thoughts came through my head when you talked about our heritage, etc. So I remember the video, but I wasn't here when they filmed you.
Right. Well, I remember what your reaction was that when I first talked to you about it was this kind of sense of, well, I wish I would have been there to stop it because you had more of a protective feeling towards the kids.
I wouldn't have It would be different if you were both giggling and kinda
Yeah.
tickling or pushing each other and, "Okay, you push me on the couch, and then I'll push you on," but you were, like, red, and you were swinging at each other, and then
Yeah.
I just thought, "What happened? What is this about? And why is he filming it instead of stopping him?" 'Cause
Right.
at the time, you didn't look like you were having fun.
Okay. So there
But
was a
that was Steve.
I like the protective element in there that you had. That's good.
I always have that feeling, I guess.
Yeah.
I could get mad at somebody, but by God, somebody else better not hurt him.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
that family thing. Otherwise, we'd all be dead.
That's
So much for the podcast.
yeah. I've
I
got
had
nobody
this
to talk
really
to.
good idea. Yeah. Great idea for a podcast, but we're all dead. Sorry. Can't be
Stories
done.
are lost forever. Well, there are a myriad of questions that I would like to ask you, but we'll probably narrow this down a little bit and bring it to a conclusion since we're getting close to an hour. But what I would like to kind of bring it to a close with is your perspective or what you think you are taking away from being from such a large family. Is there a most important thing that comes to your mind or a few important things that taken away from being from such a large family?
Well, I don't think it's so much. It has to be partly of such a large family, but
Yeah.
my internal feelings were always of a real sense of pride and closeness and affection for my family. Because to me, it was my identity.
Okay.
I don't know what other kids felt like in the family or other families, but we went to school with a lot of other large families.
Yeah.
They weren't all large, which
Right.
I didn't pay attention to.
Yeah. No.
You know,
You're
I
right.
went to school, I had my friends, and I go, "Oh my, this classmate has a little sister or an older brother," or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then you thought, "Well, everybody's like me, right? They got
Right.
18,000 brothers and sisters,"
Yeah.
but you found out we weren't all alike that way.
Right.
But I always felt close and protective. I can't pick out a fight we would have. We
Mhm.
were kids, so we might argued over a doll or this or that, not me. I wouldn't
Yeah.
argue over a doll. Maybe a pistol from one of my brothers. "I wanna play football, let me play football."
Yeah.
But see, but I did love my family because I did play with the boys a lot because I liked running and climbing and sliding down the railing of the apartment building and stuff
Uh,
they did,
yeah. Yeah.
sneaking around the back and going on the roof, things like that. Mother didn't
Speaking out
know
of the side
about.
of your mouth.
Yep. Loved my family, I was proud of my family,
Right.
and I identified with my family. So
Yeah.
any loss of that is really, I hate it.
Right.
Because
Right.
at 11, this brings back to grandma. With
Okay.
grandma dying and I was only 11, I thought, then mom and dad and everybody can die, and then I
Yeah.
started thinking about that was a real part of your life is losing family. I thought, I don't want to lose this family.
Right.
And
Right.
then it gets to be a reality. It's
Yeah.
it's a part of your identity disappearing in a way, except to think about it like this,
Mhm.
reflect on it, get along with each other as best we can. But I always was crazy about my family.
Well, and
I prefer
there's
to be with you guys than someone else.
yeah, I think it just created this really strong bond that the idea of losing such a special person that's been with you your entire life now is going to
Yes.
start going away and diminishing. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that's I think one of the tougher challenges from a large family. I would think though in a small family, you're like, "Oh, I only have so many people in my life, and once they disappear, it's going to be, scary or whatever." But being
Right.
from a large one, it's like, I'm gonna have to get used to this.
Yes.
It's
Well,
inevitable.
especially you younger ones, not that you die in order,
Right.
but I feel bad for Mary because Mike and Steve and Barb were her life before any of us came along.
Yeah.
So losing them lost a big chunk of her childhood because now she was the oldest of
Right.
those of us that are left. And I go, that's got to be an odd feeling. But like you said, I feel for you and Ann too, being the youngest, going, is everybody else going to die? And I mean, it's
Right.
it's not a good thing to think about because I do love the family. I love our humor. the athleticism, everything we have in this family. We have such a variety of family. I like that
Yeah.
too, but you have to get used to it, you know?
Well, and I think too, the idea of, like you said, the athleticism, different talents everybody had.
Yes,
You get to,
artistic, whatever.
yeah, you get to watch grow and flourish or
Yeah.
just become really strong. And you think, well, if they can do it, I can do it, or I should try that because look what they can do, kind of thing. And I
Mhm.
think it does help as a one of the younger in the family, just
Yes.
seeing all the accomplishments and thinking either it's overwhelming, I'll never be able to reach that, or
Yeah.
well, I'm going to try track and I'm going to try baseball and I'm going to try painting and stuff like
Yes.
that, just because you're exposed to all that stuff. I think that's a great
Mhm.
part of being part of a big family is that all
And
these
we
things.
had that as children growing up, you had it all because we were always together.
Yeah.
And that's like me being in the middle. I was taken care of and taught to play ball and stuff with dad and my brothers. I
Yeah.
mean, other girls played too, but I just loved playing ball. Let's play some more. Nope, supper time.
Yeah.
Or you guys would like to go do something else. But
Right.
to me, part of my identity was this athletic stuff. I just loved athletics of any kind, just
Yeah.
playing tag and running faster than the next person, that kind of thing.
I think that teaches too the idea of going to support that, whatever the talent
Yes.
was, you would go and
Yeah.
support that. And then you had a huge family coming to support you, whatever you did.
Well, not as much in our day as now. You kids, I call you,
Yeah.
having children, the more modern times is kids are in everything.
Yeah.
Anne Marie was just here with her son and daughter, and they're just finishing up soccer. So they
Right.
have a little bit of summer to just play or go on a vacation. I mean, I love playing ball, but this is organized. You got to go here and you got to go there, and they've got all these tournaments.
Yeah.
And they're not
Yeah.
they're 10, 11 years old, 9, 10, 11, and they're chasing more than I did till I got to college.
Right. Right.
I didn't have that stuff in high school, so it was different. We didn't have everybody come watch me play until I
Mm.
got to college, and even then, mom and dad once in a while saw me at a track meet or a basketball game, but
Oh, okay.
that
Well,
was in the old days.
I guess I had the luxury of that then because
Yes.
having older siblings, you guys supported that. You would come watch me do whatever.
Yeah.
And
If
even
you
if
were cheerleading at a game or whatever.
yeah, or up on stage.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's it. I was amazed at that too when you and Anne would get into plays because I think the rest of us were way too shy.
Oh, yeah.
We would work on sets and things, but we were not gonna be up there performing. I
You
never thought of myself as that.
you guys were definitely artistic. Steve, Cheryl,
Yeah.
Mark,
Some of us
you.
really were more into the art, yeah.
Yeah, loved it, which is
So,
I envied too, though, because I don't have that talent.
well, you showed us you did, Janice. You're Janice, right? You're
Number
sounding
11,
like my
number
mother.
11.
Yeah. You, "Hey, you." Most of us were named "Hey, you." "Get over here. You know I'm talking to you." I was hoping not.
Right, right, yeah.
But, that painting of that window and stuff, you've done all sorts of artistic things. Mary
Well,
did
if it's
artistic
diddly.
things. Mom did artistic things, and she
Yes.
didn't call herself an artist.
Right,
But
right.
we'd see a sketch that dad made, and we all know how Steve drew and painted and stuff. But,
Yes,
we
we
did
do.
paintings and drawings. Yes. Where'd you get that ugly thing?
I went into that on another podcast. Go
Yeah.
watch my episode
I
with Spencer. You'll see the
We all
explanation.
know. We all know.
The family does, but now everybody does.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
that's good.
Yes. Yeah, I love my family. It's very special to me. It's more valuable than everything else,
Yeah.
really.
Well, I think
So,
too that I think it helped me with it's not the art of conversation, but the enjoying listening to the art of listening to storytelling, the art of learning how to tell a story to keep things interesting, and just the laughter and what it all brought out in people. I mean, I don't think there's anything more fun than making people laugh. It's
me
just
too.
right. I think, and that
Even if it's just a chuckle. Sometimes somebody looks at you like, "Did you just say that? Did I?" Oh, that's funny.
yeah,
Some of them it goes like this, but I can't help that. I say what I say and take it or leave it.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's
And
great.
I think a lot of us think that, but it's to me, that is the best sound, especially making a little kid laugh.
Oh my gosh.
Because they're laughing so innocently. They're
Right.
not analyzing. Some of us will go, "Well, that didn't make sense," or "That's not funny. You shouldn't have said that."
Right, right.
They just laugh because you say something doofy or you do something goofy, and they laugh and giggle so hard they almost pee their pants. And that's when you know you've got them.
It's pure joy, and there's
Yes,
nothing
the
more important.
sparkle in the
Oh
eyes.
my
Yep, the
gosh, yeah.
sparkle in the eyes and that grin on their face, and they're laughing so hard they're red.
And
There's
then
not a better sound.
and the other wonderful part of that is when these little ones then repeat back something that made them laugh, and they try to make someone
Uh-huh.
else laugh with that. Oh my gosh, that's
Or they do
such a
funny
gift.
things,
Yeah,
like Ellen's little Ivan.
yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know where he learned it, but "Are you giving me the side eye?" And then he turns his head and he looks at you. And it's the cutest thing. He's like 1.5, 2, and
Yes.
he's giving you this side eye like you just did something wrong and he's doing a take, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Well,
And she said he's just a little nut, you
yeah.
know?
Well, with my little grandchild too, we laugh so hard together. And when she does something funny, I laugh hysterically. And if I
Yeah.
catch her off guard, she laughs. It's so much fun. I think that's a gift from a large family that you just find ways to entertain each other because you didn't have a lot of money to do anything else. So why not
Well, I
entertain each
think
other?
it's even deeper. It's true happiness, like you said, pure joy and happiness. What else is there in life?
Yes.
If it isn't that real deep, happy, laughing so hard you cry
Right.
because it's so silly and you can relate. What is better than that? Because
Yeah.
it's really like when life is over, if you didn't have a lot of that fun and laughter, you've really missed the boat.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a tough life.
I do think it's sad when people don't have humor or they
Mm.
don't have family to share it with. It's just,
Yeah.
sometimes our conversations get a little wild because 18 of us are talking to 18 others, but some of our nieces and nephews go, "How do you know what you're talking about?" But they find out when they grow up.
Yeah. Annie Vogt,
Yeah.
who I did have an interview with, she said it was the most amazing thing when you would come in to a conversation and you'd be there all day laughing, telling stories. And then just as you left, you'd bring it full circle to a point or a joke that was brought up at the beginning of the day. She goes, it just
Yeah.
was amazing how that happened. I love
Yeah.
that.
It just kind of kept going around in a circle and you just get it. Some people don't get it and they
Yeah.
go, "Well, what'd you bring that up for?" Well, don't you remember we were talking about, my mind has it. Why doesn't yours? And that might be genetic. I have no clue. I just don't see the point of life if you don't have fun and play. I
Right.
keep telling people, you better play with those kids because
Yes.
if you don't, I will. Because that's going to be their fun time.
That's right. That's right.
When
The
you grow
most
up, everything
innocent.
gets so serious.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
you got to go to school and you got to do this and you got to do that. And I go, when I was little, I thought, do I have to do that when I get older?
Yeah, yeah.
Get up and go to work?
Don't ever
Yeah.
wanna
You
grow
got to
up.
get, no.
Yeah.
Even my
Alright.
college coach said that. "Marcia, are you ever going to grow up?" I said, "Not if it means being grouchy." And I just looked at her. Too serious and
Uh,
grouchy.
I
No, I'm not going to grow up.
I don't know if I
You
have a
know,
choice, but I definitely have a choice of how I will grow up.
this may age, but this does not,
Yeah.
and I still goof around with the kids, and there's nothing better than having them old enough to laugh.
Yes, yes.
And then I feel guilty sometimes. "What'd they go over to you for?" It's like, "'Cause I'm their punching bag. I'm their toy.
I'm their
I can go
entertainment.
pull Marcia's hair because she doesn't care what it looks like when I yank her hair." You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, it's
But
great.
that's valuable to me,
Mm,
the
for sure,
youth, the innocence, like you say, and the real joy and affection and stuff is way more valuable than other stuff.
for sure. I agree.
The rest isn't worth worrying about.
There you
So,
go. Well, we're gonna leave it at that, and I'm hoping that our listeners will find something fun or interesting and relatable. If there's something else you would like to hear about in a future episode, please let us know there in the comments. Thank you, Marcia, for being with me today. It's been
yeah.
most appreciated, and I love you dearly. And you've
Well,
taken
I
the
love you
time out of
too,
your
little
life.
Janny Pant. Yep, I love you too, Janny Pat, little sister. And
Okay.
if the rest of them out there in the world just can't be as great as us, that's just the way it goes.
It's coming from my
That's
sister
life.
Marcia, or
That's
wherever
life.
Marcia's going to be.
That's genetics. Yeah, we know where I'm going to be. Always look up. Always looking up.
So, listeners, I am pointing up or down or sideways because I'm thinking of the podcast situation of our pictures and the podcast. But Marcia has taken it to the level of north to heaven or south to the
Yeah.
devil.
Yep. Different level. Marcia's always on a different level.
Oh, and disclaimer earlier, I don't think we explained if everybody is just listening to the podcast that earlier in the show, Marcia had shown a poster of a wanted criminal in Western dress with a rifle over her shoulder. So try to get to the YouTube video so you can see this wonderful viewing of the picture and our crazy faces.
Yes, if you can't see us, you're really missing out. That's all I can tell you.
So, Marcia, thank you for your love and
Yep.
support through all of this, through all of life.
Yep.
I really appreciate your time today. And I'm hoping we can have more fun in the future on different podcasts on different topics.
Yeah, just anytime.
I love it.
As long as I'm not fishing.
Okay, in the great Minnesota outdoors.
Yes.
All right, everyone. Have a great day. Thank you for joining us today. Please stay well, and I'll see you next time.